Hello, true believers. Or should I say, if you know, you know. Disclosure Day just finished its first weekend at the box office, debuting at number one in the USA. It has currently made $98.7 million against a budget of $115 million. It may be a bit underwhelming for an opening weekend, but I think it will steadily stay in the top 5 for well over a month and remain in the top 10 around the end of August. I think this is great news for fans of the film industry who are dying for original content instead of sequels and reboots. 3 of the top 4 movies at the box office right now are all original movies, and if you want to expand on that, 6 of the top 10 are all originals. I hope Hollywood sees this as a sign to make more original films on cheaper budgets. I do think the success of this movie and all original movies depends on word of mouth. So, what are people saying? Do they like it? And will others go see it? Like most people, I went into this movie knowing literally nothing about it, except for the fact that it had something to do with aliens. I think the marketing team did a great job of piquing the audience interest without spoiling everything, as they do so often in movie trailers now. But whenever people don't know exactly what to expect, I think the movie suffers in its initial opening week. People want to wait and see if other people like it and if it's going to be worth spending their hard-earned cash. The reviews and comments that I've seen seem to be anywhere between, "It's a must-see movie, Spielberg's best in the last 20 years," to, "It's alright, a little boring." For me, I felt exactly like how I feel whenever I watch LeBron James play basketball. The GOAT may not be as good as he once was, but he still got it, and I'm just grateful that I get to witness another masterpiece. I don't know if people realize this, but Steven Spielberg is going to be 80 years old in December. He's still a master of his craft. In some ways, his directing was better than movies he's made in the past. Of the aging directors, he hasn't shown any signs of decline, unlike Ridley Scott and Francis Ford Coppola, who haven't made a great film in years. Spielberg isn't the only GOAT turning out another masterpiece, because 94-year-old John Williams gives us another masterful score. Do you guys realize how insane it is that this duo has been together for over 50 years and they still got it? All of us just need to take a moment and be grateful we still get to see these wonders give us these beautiful pieces of art, because who knows how many more we'll get. Now, I'm going to get deep into spoilers, so go see the movie if you haven't, and then come back to this. Seriously, if you keep watching, there's no going back, and who knows what this could do to the world, and religion, and civilization as we know it. On a side note, it is interesting that this movie came out the exact same day that SpaceX went public. Coincidence? This is a classic Spielberg slow burn movie. Spielberg masterfully sets up all the different characters before the real action finally starts. Most of the tension from this movie comes from the characters knowing way more than what's going on than the audience. When we first meet Daniel, the audience has no idea what he stole. We don't know why Noah is after him. We don't know anything about the object that Daniel pulls out to escape. We literally know nothing about his contact Hugo or what he's doing or what's going on in the background. In fact, we never find out where he is until the end of the second act. This is an excellent example of how to keep the audience engaged and on the edge of their seats. It lets the audience discover things about the characters by showing us rather than telling us. The cinematography in this film is phenomenal. Some of the tracking shots are just so beautiful to watch. My favorite scene in the entire movie is when the bad guys have found Daniel at his hideout, and we watch a very long tracking shot of him running by the fence, hiding, hopping over the fence, sneaking to the back of the car, and then hopping inside the car to steal it. Then we follow a nice wide shot of him bursting through the front of the house, grabbing Jane, and then bursting through the other side. It was just so beautifully shot. It reminded me of the scene from Jaws where Brody, Hooper, and the mayor are talking about what to do about the shark. The 3 continuously move throughout the one shot, which makes it feel like you're seeing different angles, but in reality, that illusion is created from the movement of the characters and the camera. Another great example of this is when Margaret goes to the news station KCXE. The camera follows her throughout the building as she gets ready to go on air. This happens again when Margaret is at the doctor's and realizes she needs to escape. The camera follows her from the hospital room to the bathroom to another hospital room. I'm sure there's more examples in the movie, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. I absolutely love this style of filmmaking. It's just so fun to watch, and it really makes the world feel alive and real. One of the coolest new ideas I saw from this was the ability to hijack into someone's mind with that little gray object. At first, we have no idea what's going on, which, again, adds suspense. They don't tell us anything about how the device works, but they show us everything we need to know, which is why when Jane is hijacked and is trying to stab Daniel, we as the audience are freaking out. This movie felt like a bit of a spiritual sequel to another Spielberg classic, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Both deal with encounters from aliens, and both have so much mystery from these encounters, which is what keeps the audience engaged. Personally, I prefer Disclosure Day over Close Encounters, but that's just me. As great as this movie is, it's not without its flaws. I would have liked to have seen how Hugo freed the gray alien that we see at the end. I like that we officially get to meet the alien, but it feels a little thrown in. I think a little more planting and setup would have helped with that. But I wouldn't have wanted to see the alien. Like, show Hugo transporting that big wheelchair type thing and we have no idea what's in it. He could have been making that escape at the same time that Daniel was escaping with all the data. I also would have liked to have seen the fox, cardinal, and deer and other animals show their true forms as the aliens. Also, if there are other aliens walking around disguised as animals, why don't they help free their alien brother? Do they not know where he is? Or maybe that alien's a jerk and they're like, that guy deserves it. Are Daniel and Margaret the only two people who were endowed with these powers? Because it's implied that if you're an experiencer, you can't have your mind hijacked. They would only know this if they've encountered other experiencers. So what happened to them? And where are those people now? And why is none of this ever acknowledged by Hugo, who seems to know a ton about these aliens? Here's an idea. We have a brief scene at the beginning of Hugo hauling that giant wheelchair type thing. We have no idea what's inside it. He meets Santiago, who helps him load it into the truck. And then we see that cardinal observing on a street light. Hugo sees this and acknowledges it with a little And then we cut back to Daniel when he's first captured by Noah. Later, when Daniel, Margaret, and Hugo all officially meet, Hugo explains that it has to be the two of them because the other experiencers have all been killed. Or something like that. I don't know, I'm just spitballing off the top of my head. The only other problem I had was with the finale. No, I don't think there should have been more action or some jaw-dropping shootout. But it did feel way too easy for our heroes to overcome Noah and his minions. Like, all the bad guys did was just turn off the first generator, and that's pretty much it. Like, I would have liked to have seen them take out both generators, and then they use that little gray object as a power supply or something. Or Margaret uses it to connect to the entire world, in a way hijacking everyone's mind like we saw Noah do, but she does it in a good way, or something like that. It just felt way too easy. I love that the last, 5 to 10 minutes is all the disclosure. That's what the whole movie has been working towards, and it delivers. I love that the first incident was in Roswell, New Mexico, which for those of you who don't know, is a true story. In 1947, something crashed in Roswell, New Mexico, and it was described that little gray aliens with big heads and big eyes were found. Then, the experts arrived on the scene, and they said that it was a state-of-the-art weather balloon that had crashed, and the little gray aliens were merely anthropomorphic dummies. You decide which story you believe. I'm not as familiar with other alien stories as that one, but I imagine those stories were also featured in the disclosure. I like that we get to see everyone's different reaction around the entire world. I love Jane's interaction with the nun. If there is a god or some sort of supreme creator, why would he only make one world with life in this vast universe? I also love that the aliens valued empathy above all else. Humans' ability to empathize with nearly anything is one of the things that nearly separates us from all other forms of life on this planet. So it makes sense that the higher level of intelligence you attain, the higher your ability to empathize with others is achieved. I love how the film ends. It's one of those endings that stays with you long after the movie ends. The final line is "listen," and then we fade to black. It's up to the audience to interpret what happens next. Do people panic and riots begin and chaos envelops the entire world? Or does the world enter into a new era of peace, knowing that we are not alone in the universe? I think the final line of "listen" can apply outside of this movie. There are so many competing factions and oppositions in our life. These divisions just seem to get wider and more extreme each day. But at the most basic level, we're all just people. People with goals and dreams, people with hopes and fears, family and friends. We're all just people on this big, beautiful rock, and we could all do well to listen and to empathize with each other.